For years, Mason Crowe believed life had abandoned him. Endless debt, constant hardship, and the painful loss of his parents had left him with nothing but disappointment. Then, without warning, a letter arrived informing him that a distant relative he had never met had died, leaving him an enormous fortune. The inheritance included millions of dollars, a massive Victorian mansion, and hundreds of acres of isolated land deep within the forgotten town of Black Hollow. It felt like the miracle he had spent his entire life waiting for. The mansion stood silent beneath dark clouds, untouched by time despite decades of abandonment. Inside, every clock had stopped at exactly 2:17, and every hallway carried an unsettling silence that felt almost alive. The attorney refused to step beyond the entrance and quietly warned Mason to avoid the east wing after sunset. Believing it was nothing more than local superstition, Mason ignored the warning. That night, while celebrating his incredible luck, slow footsteps echoed across the second floor. The house had welcomed its newest owner. The inheritance transformed Mason's life almost overnight. Luxury vehicles replaced his old car, workers restored the mansion room by room, and expensive artwork covered the walls. His younger sister Nora moved into the estate, hoping their family could finally begin again. Mason also hired Victor Hale, an experienced estate manager who was responsible for maintaining the enormous property and protecting everything inside it. But as the renovations continued, strange events became impossible to ignore. Workers resigned without explanation after hearing whispers inside empty rooms. Others claimed pale figures watched them from upstairs windows before disappearing the moment they looked again. Dead birds began appearing across the gardens every morning, and mysterious footprints surrounded the mansion despite heavy rain washing away every other mark. The wealth that had promised freedom slowly began attracting something far darker. Searching through the mansion's forgotten library, Nora uncovered an ancient leather ledger hidden behind a secret bookshelf. Every page contained names, dates, and exact amounts of money collected over generations. Beside every name were two chilling words: "Debt paid." As Nora carefully turned the final page, her heart stopped. Written in fresh ink was a name that should never have been there. Mason Crowe. She begged her brother to leave the estate immediately, but wealth had changed him. He dismissed every warning, convinced fear was making Nora imagine impossible things. That same night, Victor discovered the underground vault standing wide open even though only Mason possessed the key. Nothing inside had been stolen, yet muddy footprints crossed the floor and disappeared directly into a solid brick wall where no doorway should have existed. Determined to uncover the truth, Victor broke through the old brick wall. Behind it waited a narrow tunnel descending deep beneath the mansion into abandoned mining shafts forgotten by history. Every step downward made the air colder. The silence became overwhelming, broken only by distant metallic sounds echoing somewhere far below. The tunnel ended inside an enormous stone chamber lined with chained antique safes. Each safe contained personal belongings left behind by people who had once lived ordinary lives: wedding rings, children's toys, family photographs, watches frozen in time. Mounted above them hung a rusted plaque carrying a horrifying message: "Every fortune demands an equal collection." Before anyone could react, the tunnel entrance slammed shut behind them, sealing them inside the darkness. As a single lantern flickered to life, its weak glow revealed something standing perfectly still among the chained safes. The towering figure wore a torn funeral veil that completely concealed its face. Gold coins poured endlessly from its sleeves, striking the rocky ground without making a sound. It never ran. It never rushed. It simply walked forward with slow, unstoppable purpose. Panic consumed the group as they fled through the endless tunnels. Victor stayed behind, hoping to buy Mason and Nora enough time to escape. His terrified screams echoed through the mine before suddenly falling silent. When Mason looked back, Victor was gone. No blood. No body. No sign he had ever existed. Only a flashlight continued spinning alone across the cold stone floor. Although Victor had vanished without explanation, Mason still refused to abandon the inheritance. Instead, he filled the mansion with security cameras, stronger locks, and expensive surveillance systems, believing technology could protect him from whatever haunted the estate. Every morning, the recordings showed shadow-like figures entering locked rooms at exactly 2:17 before disappearing without opening a single door. While searching the mansion one final time, Nora discovered Eleanor Voss's hidden journal. It revealed the horrifying truth behind the family's unimaginable wealth. Generations earlier, an ancestor had accepted a fortune from something buried beneath the abandoned mine. The agreement had never ended. Every new owner inherited the money and inherited the debt. Wealth was never the reward. It was simply the bait. Finally accepting the truth, Mason desperately tried to escape the curse. He donated every dollar, sold every luxury possession, and signed away ownership of the mansion. Heavy machinery arrived to demolish the estate once and for all. But as the foundation collapsed, workers uncovered hundreds of perfectly preserved skeletons buried beneath the house. Every skeleton clutched gold coins tightly in lifeless hands, as though they had died trying to keep hold of their fortune. That night, Mason received a notification on his phone. $1 had been transferred into his bank account from an unknown sender. The inheritance had returned. Moments later, every light inside his motel room went out. 3 slow knocks echoed from the hallway. Mason realized the curse had never depended on the amount of an A. It only required ownership. Weeks later, both Mason and Nora disappeared without leaving behind a single clue. Authorities searched the demolished estate and the abandoned mine but found nothing except endless tunnels stretching into darkness. The case was eventually closed, though nearby residents continued reporting strange lights glowing beneath the ground every night. Some even claimed they heard voices calling their names from deep below the ruins. Years passed before another unexpected inheritance letter arrived at the home of a man who had never heard of Black Hollow. Excited by his unbelievable fortune, he accepted the keys without hesitation. Deep beneath the restored mansion, an ancient leather ledger slowly opened by itself. Fresh ink spread across the final page, writing another name. Above the empty halls, every clock stopped once again at exactly 2:17. The debt had found its next owner.